So Sinner versus Alcaraz, who is better? Now this is a question which comes into mind of each and every fan, each and every spectator who is watching tennis today. Both these players are playing well. They are on top of their game. They are ranked just besides each other. They are good on all surfaces with no visible weaknesses in their game. So that definitely brings out that question, who is going to be more successful? Well, that is to be seen. But at least we can look at the strengths of both these players and what they need to improve, and who at this point of time looks to be better faced for a successful career in terms of multiple Grand Slams and even to be called a legend, such as Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer. So, can either of them get to 20 Grand Slam titles? Well, that's too far away, but let's try to see what their strengths and weaknesses are. So if we talk about Sinner, his strengths, number one is his serve, and number two is his consistency, because he is very good at playing the same level of tennis day in and day out. And you have seen this throughout the year. His record this year has been unbelievable. I think he has just lost 3 or 4 matches and won around 35 to 40 matches this year. He has won the Australian Open. He has played really well in all the summer hardcourt summer swing, and also on clay and now on grass. He just won on grass last week. So I feel he's super consistent. If he remains fit, he's going to continue the same way till the US Open, the Olympics, and even after that. So I feel consistency is the advantage which Sinner has. So unless the opponent is producing too good tennis on that day, Sinner will triumph because of his skill set, because of his serve, and because of his consistency. If I talk about the other points, the forehand, the mental strength, as we know, forehand is obviously the strength for Sinner in terms of his ground strokes. Mental strength, we have seen it time and time again against the likes of Djokovic and Nadal, that Sinner has played really well. Even at the Australian Open final this year, he was down 2 sets to love against Medvedev. Something clicked in him. He understood what he had to do, and from then on, he was able to control the match. It was a final for him. He hadn't won a Grand Slam till that time, so again, it was a very good match for him to mentally make him stronger. Now, in a Grand Slam final, in your first Grand Slam final, where you are the favorite and you are 2 sets to love down, Medvedev played one of the best matches in his career. He was playing really aggressive, and then to come back from that victory, come back from that brink of defeat, and still win that match was amazing. Also, prior to that match, he had to beat Djokovic. Now, Djokovic wasn't playing that well, but still to beat him at the Australian Open, which is his surface, was incredible. So these are some of the strengths that Sinner has, and obviously because of his good serve, he's always going to be a threat on grass and on indoor surfaces where the serve is a huge factor. Now, if I talk about the improvement areas, reaction to the slice and net game, these are two things which I feel that he might improve. He might need to improve going forward if he has to beat Alcaraz on consistent basis or any other top players. Now, reaction to slice is, when I say this, I don't mean that he doesn't play the slice well or he doesn't face the slice well. It's just that I don't feel that other players have utilized this part of his game or have tried to expose this part of his game too much. So if you talk about the likes of Federer or Nadal, they are very good at exposing the unknown sides of the opponents to figure out how they fare up with those, right? So if you talk about reaction to slice, when I say slice, I mean slow and low slice, which is deep on in the court, whether it's to the backhand or to the forehand, which basically changes the position of the opponents on the court, opens up the court, and neutralizes the big ground strokes. So this is where I feel Federer was really good against Nadal or against Djokovic or against the top big servers or powerful hitters. He was able to neutralize it with his game and then construct the point. So this is what some of the other players can try against Sinner. Just see how he fares with this sort of tactic, because both these players, whether it's Alcaraz or Sinner, they like to get involved in long rallies using their ground strokes. They have good forehand, good backhand, so they don't have to use that much of slice. They do use it, but not to that extent. So it remains to be seen how Sinner would fare up if that tactic is used a lot of times against him on big matches, on big moments. Net game, I feel both Sinner and Alcaraz have good volleys. They are able to finish the points at the net. They are not afraid to come to the net. But I still feel a lot of improvement is required in the net game for Sinner if he has to be called as an aggressive player, because he has to come up even sometimes when things are not working, maybe his ground strokes are not working. There would be situations where he has to come to the net more often than not and hit an amazing volley. Now, with the likes of Alcaraz and other players who are young, who are great movers on the court, if the volley is not good enough, they are going to reach to it and then pass you, right? So it remains to be seen how much of that can Sinner improve. But overall, very consistent player. And unless the other player on the other side of the net is playing his best tennis, it's very difficult to beat Sinner on any surface. Now, if I talk about Alcaraz, again, his primary strength is his forehand. It's explosive, it's lethal, it's consistent, and he has a lot of variety. He can hit a powerful forehand as well as he can hit it with a lot of top spin. So it helps him on clay. He can use that top spin, and when on grass or even on clay, he can also jump and hit it with a lot of power and finish the point with a winner. And when I say it's explosive, I mean it. So against any player, no matter how good a defense you have, even if you're Djokovic, if Alcaraz is hitting that forehand, much to the liking of Fernando Gonzalez or Juan Martin del Potro, it's very difficult to defend against them, right? So that is his primary strength. Then his ability to hit low percentage shots. Now, if you saw the match between Alcaraz and Sinner at the French Open, Sinner was playing really well. He started off well. He won the first set. Even in the second set, he was up a break. But suddenly, Alcaraz found those extra shots, those extraordinary shots on big moments, whether it was a passing shot on the forehand, running passing shot, whether it was reaching to the drop shot and hitting an amazing angle, or hitting the down the line backhand. Especially in the final set of that match, Alcaraz was able to produce his best tennis on big moments. So it's not like Sinner lost the match because he made unforced errors or he lost some consistency or some form. Obviously, both the players did that in the overall equation of the match. But on big moments in the final set as well as in the fourth set, Alcaraz was able to produce his best tennis and hit some amazing shots. And that is a big ability to have. What it means is, even if Alcaraz is not playing well, if the match is tied at one set all or two sets all, and the opponent is feeling good about his game, just 2 or 3 points, if Alcaraz is able to come up with those amazing shots, it breaks the morale of the opponent, and suddenly Alcaraz feels a lot of energy. He feels a lot of confidence. It also encourages the crowd, and obviously the crowd favors him because it's his game is easy on the eyes. His game is more exciting to watch, and as a result, the match can turn into his favor. So that's an advantage that he has. Another one is very relatable to this above advantage, that is his fearlessness. So whether it's deuce, whether it's break point down, whether it's advantage, it's tie break, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If Alcaraz feels that he has to go for a winner, he will go for a winner. Now that is a strength as well as a weakness, because sometimes he makes incorrect decisions and he loses the point, but then at least the match or the point is on his racket. So it's completely dependent on him how he plays, and that's difficult for opponents to deal with, right? Because they are always on the mercy of Alcaraz, how he plays. So again, that's a strength, the fearlessness, and the improvement areas, as I mentioned, is the ability of him to pick the right shot at the right time. That is very important. So we saw that in the French Open and also his other matches, that sometimes he makes the wrong choice. Maybe he tries to go for a winner too early. Maybe he's not in a position. As I mentioned, it's a low percentage shot, and then he misses that shot. So it happens on big points as well. But because he has so much skill set, so much variety against 99 of the 100 players, he's still able to win the match because all those things are covered up because of his good game. But against the likes of Sinner or Djokovic, those mistakes could prove lethal and he could lose those matches. So that's where I think he needs to improve more, a bit more consistency, a bit more high percentage shots. Maybe he can look up to Nadal to understand which shots to play at which moments. And I think then he could be absolutely unbeatable if he can improve on that part. So as I mentioned, again, concentration lapses is related to the above part. Sometimes it's just the loss in concentration, and sometimes it's the actual ability to pick the right shot. Because he has so much variety, he has all the shots in the game. It's difficult for him to understand in that moment which shot is the best, which shot is the most apt to finish the point. So it depends, and it comes with experience. So maybe in next 2 or 3 years, he would get that, and once he starts to play better in that aspect, I think he'll win more Grand Slams and more matches. Preparation time on the shots. So I feel that Alcaraz, because he has a lot of power on his forehand, and when I mentioned preparation time on the shots, I was talking about the forehand. So on slower surfaces such as the clay or a slow hard court, where Alcaraz has the time to prepare, he has a huge stance, so that helps, right? But on the surfaces like indoor courts, where it's very quick, and if you face someone like Sinner or Federer for that liking, who takes the time away from you and hits the ball on the rise, it doesn't give Alcaraz that much time to prepare for his shot. So obviously he can, with his speed, he can counter that. But sometimes on key moments, that could hamper the timing that he has on his forehand. So maybe a little bit of improvement technically, if that could happen, then even on faster surfaces, he would become unbeatable. Now, all these are very minor things which don't affect their chances to win as of now. But when things get really close and everyone is playing on top of their game, these minor things might come into picture. Now, if I talk about different Grand Slams, different surfaces, who looks to win on which surface, right? So on the Australian Open, I feel Sinner is better suited just because the court is slower, and it's just like Djokovic. If you see Djokovic, right? If you talk about Djokovic and Nadal, both of them like to play on the baseline. Both of them like to rally a lot. But Djokovic, it looks like the court is made for him, right? Similarly for Sinner, he's so consistent. It's so easy on the eye when you look at it at the Australian Open. It feels like it's very difficult to beat this guy because you can't hit a winner. He will not make any mistakes. He is playing aggressive. He has all the angles, and he's consistent. So I feel in Australian Open, Sinner is going to have the advantage even in future. When I talk about French Open, it's Alcaraz, just because Alcaraz has more time in French Open to prepare for his shots. The court is bigger, the area behind the baseline is bigger, so Alcaraz can stand far behind the baseline to return the ball. He also uses that loopy backhand to the moon ball, as we call it. So it gives him a lot of bandwidth or variety in his game that he could exploit and expose the other players' weaknesses due to that at the French Open. And he's obviously fit. He can play for 5 sets, and he's such a good mover on any surface. So I feel French Open, I'll give more marks to Alcaraz even in the future. When I talk about Wimbledon, again, both players play well, but it's just some part of the unpredictability on Alcaraz's end, as well as the serve for Sinner, which is an advantage for him. That's why I feel Sinner might be better suited to win Wimbledon over the years. And US Open, again, that's another hard court. It's a bit quicker than Australian Open, but nowadays it's getting slower and slower. But I still feel that Sinner, because of his consistent tennis, the hard court, as well as his good serve, slightly maybe he has the edge against Alcaraz. So this is on paper, okay, but it remains to be seen how these players continue to play and how these players evolve and improve as the years go by. So it will be very interesting. Now, talking about Wimbledon 2024, I feel this tournament is for Sinner to lose because he is world number one right now. He has been the most consistent player this year. He's full of confidence. He has just won a title in grass last week, and he has also lost a little bit. So we can't call him overconfident. So he's in a very good position, and the surface is going to suit him. He has troubled Djokovic on this surface in the past. He has troubled Alcaraz on this surface. So I feel that it's his tournament to win, and Alcaraz or Djokovic, whoever is playing against him, they have to be on top of their game to beat him. So I hope, guys, you like this video. Thanks for watching.